Loweye Diedro here in beautiful Ghent for the World Cup. Loweye, you had a top 64. That's your best result of 2015. How about overall here in the 2014-2015 season?
I think that this result is definitely a signal that I'm improving. I think this is the result I needed at this point because I haven't made a second day in any international competition. In New York, I made a second day, but it was like home and I didn't feel like I did anything. So finally making the second day and seeing how hard it was to get over it, I feel like now I know what I need to do to make more second days.
Now you mentioned the comparison between here and New York.
Mm-hmm.
Why did it feel the way it did for New York? It was a Grand Prix. It's a tough tournament.
I just think I felt too comfortable. Like I took the subway there, I woke up and I just took the subway and it wasn't like traveling on an airplane for 8 hours.
So for most people that home field advantage can really benefit them,
Yeah.
but for you, you said it just feels too comfortable?
Yeah, no, it didn't feel too comfortable. I felt like it felt just right. Like I felt like I didn't feel any pressure. That was one. I wasn't really thinking about my result. When I come to these tournaments, I feel like there's a lot of things you think about, how much money you spent, how much time you have, and there's just a lot of more pressure than there would be versus not spending $2.25 on the subway.
Right. Now, you talk about the funding side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, you were a full-time teacher and balancing that with training, correct?
Yeah.
Now, what are you doing this year to help kind of fund your endeavors?
Well, I mean, my coach gave me a job at his new fencing club, which helps. It doesn't help totally, but I think me getting supported through my fencing, a lot of people don't have any funding. I'm grateful to have funding through many different, I guess you could say areas, whether it's USA Fencing, AC, Patrick. So I can just like add all of the money I get and sort of break even and make a little profit if I do like side directing, refereeing.
Right, and you talk about kind of the different sources of funding, and that you are an AC athlete. Where else are you training as far as like AC? You mentioned Patrick.
Well, I'm training everywhere that New York has to offer, basically. I train with the Columbia women because they have an extremely strong team, the strongest women's team in the nation. So I train with them to get my 5-touch bouts really, on point. And then I train the FC because those are my teammates since I was 12, 13. So it's not even a question as to why I would not go there. Most of the women there are the 4 out of the top 10 of women in the nation, women's saber. And then I also train at my coach's new club, DFA, just to get lessons and also train with the other saber fencers. So I'm at the AC, I'm in New Jersey, I'm at the FC, I'm at Columbia, I'm everywhere.
You kind of need a personal assistant to
That's what I
help.
was thinking the other day. I was really thinking, now I know why people have personal assistants, because when you're doing so many things, something is just going to drop. But I wouldn't get a personal assistant. I just think that's too uppity.
and you talk about the Patrick's new club, brand new facility. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's really great because I think it's the only club in America like it is, and I think it really models itself after the elite clubs in Europe and maybe even Asia. I don't know how they do their clubs, but I'm pretty sure it's similar. It's a really huge space. That means they could hold 3 weapons. A lot of clubs in the US only have 1 weapon, specialize in 1 weapon. So I think that's what's great about it. And it's just a nice location, and I feel like it's just competitive in terms of pricing, in terms of space, and just the coaching staff is really, really great too.
And you talk about not only is it a really large space, which is a huge contrast from the other New York clubs, but also the fact that it's 3 weapons.
Yeah.
How does that compare, or how does that, I guess, lend itself to scheduling? Are all 3 weapons there at the same time?
Yeah, all 3 weapons can do it at the same time because it's such a big space. So you can have saber going on one, spot in the club, and you can have FA here and full here, and that's what's good about it. Because, at the FC, that's a 3-weapon club, but they have to have classes at a certain time so you can fit all the coaches, all the egos coaches have, all that into like so everybody could fit. Yeah.
Right. Now, outside of fencing, well, I guess not outside of fencing, but you had a pretty big scare in Greece and another one in Venezuela. Tell us a little bit about some of your travel-related episodes.
Honestly, I feel like this whole traveling experience this year is like rookie mistake after rookie mistake. I just feel like I'm a pro now, I hope, but it's still like it's just a learning experience. Certain things that you do once, you just don't want to repeat again. But it's hard if you don't know it, if you're not used to it. I'm not used to traveling like this, so these little mistakes have like grave consequences, and I didn't know that. Being like 10 minutes late to something could mean you're sleeping over that country for one day, like Greece. I was almost in Greece for 2 nights. It was horrible.
And why was that you kind of had to extend, unintentionally extend your stay in Greece?
Well, unfortunately, I was late leaving the hotel, and then I like knew something wasn't right because I was way too comfortable in the taxi. I was like, I'm gonna make this flight. I'm just making it. And I get to the airport, and I'm like, I forgot my passport in the hotel drawer. It was just so bad because the hotel was 40 minutes away from the airport, so I knew I wasn't making it. And then it was just a whole ordeal. Again, that's where funding comes in. If I was teaching, I would have had that extra money to buy a new flight. But it's a learning experience.
Yeah, and how about on the Venezuela side? What was the learning experience there?
Don't fall asleep because you have a long layover. Stay awake. Actually, you should stay right in front of the check-in desk and just make sure you check in first. Yeah.
All right. Well, it's positive to hear that like you put a nice spin on it, and you're learning from your mistakes.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're doing the same with your fencing game. It's obviously showing here. So,
Thanks.
all right, Loweye. Well, thanks for your time, and we'll catch you later.
Ah.